My wife kept saying our marriage needed more openness. I thought she meant communication, until the day I heard her.
My wife always said our marriage needed to be more open, but I never in a million years imagined this is what she meant. Looking back, the signs were all there like little red flags I kept trying to ignore. It started subtly. She'd come home late, claiming it was just long hours with coworkers. Her phone, once something she'd leave lying around, became glued to her hand, guarded like it held state secrets. I'd catch her smiling at messages, and when I'd ask what was so funny, she'd just brush it off. Oh, nothing, just work stuff. I kept telling myself I was being paranoid, that I was overthinking things. Trust was supposed to be the bedrock of our relationship, right? The foundation we built everything on. Or so I thought. The real gut punch came from an unexpected direction. My two best friends, guys I'd known since college, started acting weird. They'd dodge my calls, make excuses to avoid hanging out one-on-one. The only time we'd see each other was in a group, where everything felt forced and superficial, and the looks. Whenever my wife walked into a room where we were, they'd exchange these glances. Quick, unreadable flashes of communication that I couldn't decipher. It made my skin crawl. One afternoon, I came home early and overheard them whispering in the kitchen. They thought the house was empty. I heard my name. I heard my wife's name. And then I heard one of them say, "We just need to keep things under control for a little longer." My heart didn't just sink. It plummeted. The curiosity I'd been feeling curdled into a cold, heavy dread. That night, I decided to test the waters. I confronted them, but I kept it light. "Hey, you guys planning a surprise party for me or something? What's with all the secrets?" They laughed, but it was hollow. Guilt was practically screaming from their faces. The final piece of the puzzle clicked into place later that evening. My wife announced she was going out for some air. Something in my gut screamed at me that it was a lie. My hands were shaking as I opened the location-sharing app we had on our phones for emergencies. She wasn't at the park. She wasn't driving around aimlessly. She was at my friend's apartment. The same friend whose kitchen I'd heard them whispering in. I don't even remember making the decision to drive there. It was pure instinct. My mind was a chaotic storm of denial and certainty. What would I find? What would I do? But deep down, I already knew. Her car was parked right outside his building. I got out, walked to his front door, and just stood there. I couldn't bring myself to knock. Instead, I listened. And through the thin wood, I heard it all. Laughter, her laughter, mixed with their voices, my wife, my two best friends. They were joking about their arrangement and how much better it was for everyone. My stomach twisted into a knot so tight I thought I was going to be sick. They weren't even hiding it from each other. My hands were trembling so violently that I dropped my keys, the clatter echoing in the silent hallway. I didn't confront them. I couldn't. I just turned around, walked back to my car, and drove away, feeling like a ghost. The betrayal was a three-headed monster, and it had devoured my entire world. When she came home an hour later, she was the picture of innocence. She hummed a little tune, asked me about my day, acted like absolutely nothing was wrong. I looked her straight in the eye and asked, "Where were you?" She didn't even blink. "Just went for a long drive." Needed to clear my head. That was it. That was the moment I knew. She would lie to me until her last breath if it meant protecting herself. And in that moment, something inside me broke. But I didn't explode. I didn't raise my voice. I just smiled, played along, and let her believe her lie had worked. The next week was a blur of silent, meticulous work. I was a detective in my own life, gathering the evidence of my own destruction, text messages she thought were deleted, screenshots of their group chats. I even managed to get a recording from my phone when I accidentally left it behind. She had no idea. My friends had no idea. They thought they had pulled off the perfect deception. They even had the audacity to suggest we all have a little get-together at our house that weekend. "It's been too long since we all just hung out," one of them said. They walked into my home thinking they were the masters of this little game, completely oblivious that I was about to flip the entire board. The evening started normally. Small talk, drinks, forced laughter. They were so confident. Then, in the middle of a story one of them was telling, I stood up, walked over to the TV, and calmly connected my phone. The chit-chat died instantly as the first text message appeared on the 50-inch screen. My wife's face went from a pleasant smile to a mask of pure ashen horror. My friends froze, their drinks halfway to their lips. The only sound in the room was the notification chime as a slideshow of their own words. Their own plans, their own jokes at my expense, filled the screen. My wife started begging me to stop, pleading that we should talk about this in private. I looked at her and said, "The truth doesn't need privacy when the betrayal was a public performance." My so-called friends tried to stammer out excuses, but their lies were pathetic against the glaring proof on the screen. I told them to get out, that they were no longer my friends, no longer welcome in my life, no longer anything to me. Then I turned to my wife. I told her she needed to pack a bag and leave, immediately. The sobs started, then huge, theatrical tears. "We can fix this," she cried. "It was just a phase." I just shook my head. Phases don't involve systematically destroying a marriage and two friendships.